Hey everyone, it's Anthony Allen Ramos. All right, the new 4-part Netflix series, Under Pressure, the U.S. Women's World Cup team follows the beloved team as they try to make history by winning 3 World Cups in a row. It obviously was a heartbreaker when that didn't happen, but their amazing road is all captured in the series, and I'm so excited to be chatting with the executive producer and director, Rebecca Gitlitz. How are you?
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Well, let me tell you, you had major access. I didn't realize you would literally be so in it. For anyone that hasn't heard of this yet, give us like kind of the time frame, because it's 4 parts, and it takes us for kind of like the girls are getting notified that they've made the team, and then it takes us through, their devastating loss and then what happens after. And for anyone that's forgotten, this would have been, the history-making situation. They won the championship 2015, 2019, and then tried again in 2023.
Yeah, it was a whirlwind. We tried to track this down. I've been following this team for a very long time. I am very committed to putting women's sports and women's athletes on the big stage. So I had been chasing this for a long time, and we finally got the go-ahead and all systems clear by, March of last year. So we did this entire thing, found the players that we wanted to feature and shot everything and edited everything in literally record time. So my team was masterful.
No, it really, and here's the thing, obviously these women are larger than life figures. We all know about them, but the good thing, this doc series really tells you about what it takes to be on this team. And I didn't even really put the pieces together so 2015, 2019, and then tried again in 23. I don't even know if that's physically possible, because that's 12 years. So imagine someone trying to compete at this level for 12 years. I mean, people are going to be in their 30s, even if they started at 20,
And if you think about it, the most incredible part is that more than one player competed in all 3. Alex Morgan, Megan Rapinoe, Kelly O'Hara. I mean, yeah. That's bananas. And, I'm so inspired by motivated, brilliant women. And I think this team has it all, because you don't understand the sacrifices on the field. You don't understand what they've given up. You don't understand the taxing mental, physical energy that it takes to stay at this level. And when you talk about sports dynasties, you're talking about people year after year after year. You're talking about the 90s Bulls, you're talking about the Lakers, you're talking about the Yankees. These are people that repeated. These women have to stay at the top of their game for 12 years while the cycle is repeating, right? Because this is what's cool about this team. There's 38-year-olds and 18-year-olds.
Right.
And so it's constantly rotating. And that's part of the drama that's in here, right? It's like you have people that are at prom, and you have people that are bringing their kids to daycare and then to a game. Like the thought of all these people in the locker room is like, how do you work as one?
Rebecca, you mentioned Rapinoe. I mean, the great. We obviously appreciate what she has done and what she continues to do so much. What was it like for you to have access to her at this time when it's literally called Under Pressure? I was watching her and I was like, I can't imagine with her specifically, just because trying to navigate and do this, but have the world watching. Everyone has so many expectations. Everyone, it would make me crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Megan lives on another planet. I mean, I've known her and been in her orbit for a very long time. And she is one of those dreamers. There are so few people on this planet that sort of can dream big, but then will it to happen, right? And she's one of those people. But when we sat down and started talking to her about this, she really wanted it to be about the team, which is why she's sort of a piece of it, but not the whole. And I think she understood her place this year, which was to sort of usher in this next generation. And so we tried to put her in that spot in the doc the same way that she existed within the team. And I think what she represents on this team is something that has trickled down from the generations, right? It's the Julie Foudy era, it's the Mia Hamm era, it's this silent sort of work that was an avalanche. It was slow, and then it came at us very, very fast. But Megan is not the only advocate, socially and physically on this team. Some of them just do it in a much more quiet way, which I also deeply respect.
And I don't want to get too spoilery because it's 4 parts, but the good thing is that this happened and now you're looking back on things that happened. So it's not too spoilery, but there is a point when, in real time, Carly Lloyd, who was no longer on the team, kind of put people on blast, had a lot to say about it. And then you actually get to go into that as well with her. What was it like to kind of be, a part of capturing that, but with someone that obviously had such strong feelings about what was going on and something that you're so passionate about?
Yeah, I mean, that was a wild ride, right?
Yeah.
We, obviously the World Cup was in Australia and New Zealand. At our height, we had 11 edit rooms going. So I stayed here in New York and ran command. And then we had these unbelievable producers who were on the ground. And we were following the story, everybody was talking, right? Everybody watching this World Cup was saying, what's going on? When is this going to happen? And Carly Lloyd was just a little bit louder than anyone else and a little bit more vocal. And we felt like this was part of the story. This was part of the World Cup. And she very graciously allowed us to go. And our producer had actually landed in Melbourne from New York that day. So it had taken her 30 hours. And I was like, I'm really sorry, but I just spoke to Carly Lloyd and she's going to let us film. Can you please fly back to Sydney? So
Wow.
it was just like everything that happened on the show, it happened very fast.
What do you, again, thinking about the heartbreak, but I think that the doc also does a really good job of showing what happens next, what these women have to go through after, being on this public journey, unfortunately not winning. What do you want people who watch this to take away from all of this footage and stories that you got to tell, behind the scenes?
I'm so glad you asked this question because I think it's so important. I know you're going to think that I am a crazy person, but I thought that the loss gave us an opportunity to tell a story that we weren't necessarily going to be able to tell, right? This team is generations worth of change makers, and it will continue to be. And if you think that one loss in the quarterfinals defines them, then you're sorely mistaken. And so I was really excited to be able to tell not just the history, but the present and the future. And what's happening in the present is that because of Title IX, because of the 99ers, because of equal pay, that team has forced the whole world to pay attention and say, hey, if you invest in us, just literally a tiny bit, we can be good at soccer too. And we've forced the whole world to sort of catch up and realize that soccer and women's athletics are something to pay attention to. And so while this was a loss, it was actually a win in that the game is bigger and better than it's ever been. And that was us 20 years ago. And now we get to see some unbelievable soccer.
And that, I firmly believe in the saying that everything happens for a reason, how hard that is in the moment to understand it can be. I mean, because if you think about if they would have won, it would have been a big celebration. But then I think the pressure would have continued because someone would be like, well, let's have them 4 years or
Right.
4 in a row. And it would never stop and it would just continue and continue. What do you think is next for Megan Rapinoe? Or maybe because I think, obviously professional sports, that chapter is done, but endless opportunity for what is ahead for someone who is so passionate, so talented.
I think that we should all say thank you to Megan Rapinoe for all that she's given us. I think she'll continue to stand up for what she believes in and continue to not be afraid to speak the truth. And I think our generation will be better for it. So I certainly can't wait to watch.
This project has got to be it's such a passion project for you on so many levels, but how amazing to kind of get your time world involved with and, coming to Netflix and then doing something that you're so passionate about. I mean, it's kind of the dream project.
It's beyond my dream project. My whole mantra in life is bringing the margins to the mainstream, right? And my wife and I, who also works in sports and is a change maker beyond belief, we've had so many conversations in our living room about how do we do this? How do we make this better? How do we break through? And I think this team, because they're so part of our cultural relevance right now, is gonna break through. You know, I don't think that this is a film just for women. I don't think that this is a film that firmly puts us just in this like women's sports space. I think it's universal. I think there's real stories, there's real sacrifice, there's real drama. And I'm grateful. I'm so grateful that to be a part of this world.
And, you know, I think as we, you know, say goodbye to, you know, Rapinoe obviously is retiring. The doc series also does a great job of spotlighting the first timers who literally 2023 was the first time that they ever got to do this. What do you hope happens for them? I mean, you know, because they're unfortunate that their first, you know, they didn't get to have that winning moment, but they've got a lot of time left and a lot of years left to make that happen.
I think we'll see a lot of Alyssa Thompson and Trinity Rodman and Sophia Smith in the future. You know, one of the things we wanted to do with the pressure theme is sort of tell these stories in the three parts. It's the veterans, it's the young ones, and it's these bubble players. And they all feel pressure so differently, right? Because they're all in such different places of their lives. And someone like Lynn Williams, like, who works so hard, you know, I loved that for her. And I think the experience is something that so few of us will ever get. So while it wasn't the best outcome, I think probably the experience was one of a lifetime, except if you're Alyssa Thompson, who we'll see for the next 12 years.
Exactly. Well, very well said. Well, Rebecca, congratulations. Just a reminder, everyone, that Under Pressure, the U.S. Women's World Cup team, will be available on Netflix starting December 12th. Like I said, 4 parts. It's a wild ride. I learned so much. But thank you so much for the time. And like I said, congrats. It's amazing.
Thank you so much for having me.